Hi, I'm Katya Alexander, and this is Pocket Change Films, the podcast where I teach you how to make your first film with your pocket change. Then I'll teach you how to build a portfolio. Then I'll teach you how to get actual budgets for your projects. And then, hopefully, I'll teach you how to make your first micro-budget feature. For those of you who don't know me, I've been an indie producer in the film industry for 12 years. I utilized my time at college to build a portfolio that ended up launching my career. I sold my first feature to PBS, and my other feature went to South by Southwest and won the Audience Award. It was later sold to IFC and became a trending film on Hulu. I also worked on the Las Vegas Sphere, which was a boot camp between the intersection between technology and entertainment. I want to use all my experiences to help young people break into the film industry and start making their first films. Right now in this series, I'm teaching people how to make their first project with their pocket change. So if you've already made your first project with your pocket change, you should check out later in the season when I talk about how to do things with bigger budgets and how to make your first micro-budget feature.
Pocket change, pocket fame, fill with a spark. Will I have to scream when we hit play in the dark? Innovation, creation on a shoestring beat. Join the journey, feel the heat in everything.
In the last episode, we talked about gathering a crew, finding equipment, and all the pre-production work that goes into making a movie. In this episode, I'm going to teach you the tips and tricks to make sure that your set runs smoothly. So you're about to go on set to make your first project. The one thing I would say that you should definitely have is your run of show. It will be the last thing that you make during pre-production. Your run of show is basically what everybody's going to do at each moment in making the movie. In the run of show, I'm telling people the day before who is going where to pick up what. If you have to pick up your camera, if you have to pick up some props, if you have to pick up some lights, you're telling who is going in what car, where they are going, what time they are expecting you. Because whenever you rent equipment or are borrowing equipment, you're obviously coordinating with a person about a time that you're going to pick it up and an address. So in that run of show, even if it's just yourself, I put Katya Alexander is going in her own car to blank address at 2 p.m. to pick up an A7S, which is a type of camera. That way everybody's on the same page. They know who is going where and how and what and why. You shouldn't be renting trucks for your first production. You shouldn't have enough stuff to rent a truck, but if for some reason you were, it'd be like, this person's going to this place to pick up this truck. Make sure to bring your license. This is the confirmation number. This is the address of the place. Basically, all the information you could possibly need is in one document. It cuts down on the amount of questions that can be asked. And also, it can act as a preliminary call sheet. I don't tend to do preliminary call sheets a lot. I do it on features and stuff, but if I'm doing a short or a commercial, I won't really do preliminary call sheets. I just send the call sheet out the night before, but I send a run of show weeks in advance. So people do know where they're going, what the call time is going to be. And anytime something changes, I update the run of show and I send it to the whole crew. So they don't really need a preliminary call sheet. They know where they're supposed to go and at what time. So the run of show starts the day before and then will go into your first shoot day. These people are going to be called at this time at this place. These people are going to be called at this time at this place. Hopefully you have one location, so everybody should be called to the same place, but not always at the same time. You can also add notes of like breakfast will be served or come having already had breakfast, different stuff like that. Then I put the shot list in there so people can see the actual shot list. And then I put when lunch is going to be, what we're going to have for lunch, and what time wrap is going to be. So everybody has all of the information, hopefully days before the shoot. The other reason why this can be very helpful is sometimes a crew member will spot a mistake. So one time I sent out my run of show, and this was for a feature where we did have multiple locations. We were having many company moves and we were filming for 5 weeks. And the key grip comes up to me and says, hey, I'm looking at the later weeks in the run of show and I'm noticing, we're filming at this place, then we're doing a company move here, then we're filming here, then we do a company move here, and then we come back. And he's like, I think that there's a better way to do this. And he kind of gave me his rundown. It was a better way to do it. And so I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for catching this mistake. I was able to redo the run of show and cut down the company moves by half. It also will help you figure out if you're missing something. Let's say you do have a truck and all of a sudden you're like, the truck is being picked up at this time, but who's driving it? You start to figure out all of these things early on in the run of show. You're like, oh, I need to find someone to drive the truck. Oh, I need to find someone to pick up the camera. Oh, I need to find someone who has a car big enough to put a couple lights in. Different stuff like that. You'll be able to figure it out before it becomes a problem. It is terrifying to be on the day and realizing that you forgot something. So that's your run of show. Now you've arrived at your first day of your set. Because it's early in your process, in your career, and you probably don't have a lot of PAs, you at the beginning of the day and the end of the day will probably be doing some PA duties, and that's fine because it's all hands on deck and every single person on your set is going to have multiple jobs. As the PA, or when I'm the producer of a very small thing or the director of a very small thing, I tend to arrive 30 minutes early, which is good to keep in mind when you're giving times to a location about what times you're going to arrive and you're going to leave. You can probably hear my cat on the other side of the door just screaming his little head out because he wants to snuggle, and he purrs too loud and the microphone picks it up. So that's important to tell the location. Let's say your call time is 7 a.m. and your wrap time is 7 p.m. You're going to want to tell your location you need it from 6:30 to 8:30. Because at the end of the day, if you are running behind schedule and you are going into overtime, it is so much added stress when the location is trying to kick you out at the same time. So you're going to arrive 30 minutes early and you're going to set up breakfast. Breakfast can just be a couple bagels, some cream cheese, some coffee. That's all you really need. You're also going to set up crafties so that people have access to the snacks right from the start. Hopefully you will have figured this out beforehand when you saw the location, but you need to make sure you know where people can sit and eat and relax, where people are going to keep the equipment for storage, and where you're actually going to be filming. And you already have your shot list and your schedule and your run of show, so everybody should know what the first shot's going to be and pretty much what every shot's going to be for the entire shoot. An AD is going to be pretty important, but your producer or whoever's doing that extra help for you on the set should be able to be your AD on the day. You're trying to keep the crew as small as possible, so people are going to be doing multiple jobs. An app that I suggest that makes keeping time really easy is this app called Shot Lister. Basically, you program your shot list into it. You can then make your strip board right there on the app, and on the day you hit go, and boom, it just keeps track of the time for you. It's a really helpful tool for even when you have an AD. Whenever I'm doing a one-man band or I'm just making something pretty much entirely by myself, I use Shot Lister and it does keep me on schedule, sometimes even ahead of schedule, because I get very nervous and I tend to schedule a lot of time to do stuff. So your crew's gonna arrive at call time. They might stop for like 5-10 minutes, grab some breakfast, and then they'll get right to work. They'll bring in the equipment, they'll start setting up for your first shot. While people are setting up, make sure that you have a chance to talk to your actors. Make sure they have everything they need to get into character. Make sure you talk about any last minute ideas you have, any last minute things that they want to add, especially if the crew kind of already knows each other and the cast doesn't really know the crew. You need to put a lot of extra effort into making sure that the cast feels really welcomed, or anybody on your set who doesn't know everybody. Put a lot of extra effort into making sure that that person feels welcomed. It's really hard to walk into a space where everybody knows each other and you might only know one person. So be very cognizant of that throughout your filming process. For your first meal, which would be 6 hours after call. So in this example, your call time 7 a.m., first meal is going to be at 1 p.m. You want to make sure that it's ready 15 to 30 minutes before actual lunchtime, because you do not want lunch running late. It's going to throw off the entire day. So for lunch, as I told you before, you're going to schedule an hour, but you don't need a full hour for lunch. Lunch is supposed to be 30 minutes after last man. Last man is the last person to grab a plate of food. Then a timer starts for 30 minutes. Usually between people trying to put their equipment away and mosey on over to lunch, and there's a line and then people grab lunch. Lunch ends up being about 45 minutes, so you get to gain some time back into your schedule. I always do that because, God, is it a great feeling that you're like, uh-oh, we're 5 minutes behind schedule, and then after lunch you're 10 minutes ahead of schedule. The other thing to keep in mind, it is very normal to cut shots on the day. It's also very normal to add shots on the day, which producers and ADs hate to hear. Me being both of those, it's a very frustrating process to be half an hour behind schedule and the DP and the director come up to you and go, we added 5 more shots. And you're like, oh, of course you have. But I get it. You're on set and the creativity is flowing and you're starting to see it come together more, and it's very easy to add shots. But when you're running behind schedule, you also need to cut shots. I usually have a predetermined list of shots I'm willing to cut if we need to for time. So when things are getting really stressful, it's nice to already have a list of shots you're willing to cut. I always tell people that once the cortisol starts running through your system, it becomes really hard to make decisions. So it's much better to just have an idea of what to do when things go wrong. A pro tip for the end of your day: if you get to the end of your day and you're filming in the same location the next day, you don't need to pack up your gear. You just need to safety it, which just means making sure that no lights or cameras or anything fall over in the middle of the night. It saves a lot of time for the end of your day and a lot of time for the next morning. So at the end of your day, you're just making sure to safety everything. But if you're at the end of the shoot or you are needing to move the equipment for some reason, you need to make sure that you give yourself an hour at the end of the day to pack everything up. Throughout the day, when you're running behind schedule and you are adding shots, you're going to tell yourself, I don't need an hour. That's crazy. That's so much time. You need the hour. Sometimes you need an hour and a half and you're kind of screwed at the end of the day. You need the hour. Do not take the time away from your wrap. It is so tempting. It is so tempting. I do it all the time, but don't do it. It is a mistake. Okay, that's it for the logistics. Now the fun part, the creative stuff. So you will have been planning all this creative stuff for all of pre-production. Make sure you have all of that stuff on the day. You've printed out your shot list, you've printed out your storyboards, you've printed out your strip boards, you've printed out every single thing that you need, and you've brought your production Bible to the set because you're going to be referencing this stuff all day long. Somebody's going to get into a costume, you're going to be approving makeup and hair, you're going to be approving lighting, you're going to be approving production design and camera angles and movements and every single thing all day long. And it's so easy just to reference all the stuff that you have already done and all the work that you've already put into this project. I worked with a director once that printed out his entire storyboard and posted it on this giant board that the whole crew could see, and he hung it up on a wall that we were never going to see while filming. The crew was staring at that wall all day, and we were all on the exact same page of every single shot that was going to be in this project, what it was going to look like, what the angle should be, where the character is supposed to be within the shot. Sometimes the director and the DP, they'll go off on the side, they'll have their own decision making, but the production designer doesn't really know what's in frame. They design most of the room, and then you're only going to see a corner of the room. Having that storyboard, everybody knew exactly what was going to be on screen at any given moment, and it was perfect. The other thing that can be really hard is trust your crew. These are people that you've been hopefully working with for a while. You know their different skills and abilities, and hopefully you guys really like each other. You just like hanging out. You like working with each other. Trust them. If they have ideas, listen to the ideas. One of my major crews that I work with all the time, the one I actually made Pretty Problems with, which won South by Southwest, our ethos is best idea wins. I don't care if the idea came from a PA or an intern. I don't care. If it's the best idea, that is what we are going to do. As the director, you need to strike up this perfect balance between taking ideas from people, giving people a voice, and trusting them to know how to do their jobs and know how to work in the film industry, and at the same time making sure that your voice doesn't get lost and you don't get steamrolled. I've worked with some first-time directors that are amazing at this, but most first-time directors are not amazing at this. This actually tends to be the thing they have the hardest time with, so don't be too hard on yourself. This is something you're going to develop throughout your entire career. For the rest of this episode, I wanted to show some examples of some early projects that I made with my friends for close to no money. The first one is a music video that I made in college for this band called Beard. They were my favorite band in college, and I really wanted to make a music video for them. I pitched them this idea that was going to be very simple, one location. We filmed the entire thing in my apartment, and we did it for, I'm pretty sure, less than $200. And most of that money actually went to food.
In sheep's clothes, I still don't know what if I'm a changing man? Think my watch is busted. Hands don't work the way I want them to. I think my memory's fading. I don't know if I'm getting better when wanna be by myself.
The next one is a music video that I made with this man named Henry Brower. It's for a song called Electric Blanket. We filmed the entire thing in his house. His house actually was a 4-bedroom house, but we did some production design and made it look like a studio apartment. This is definitely beyond a first-time project. We rented some lights, we rented some cameras, we did have a really nice camera package. But all these people were donating their time and donating different resources to production design the set and to make all of this happen. It was truly a group of friends that got together and over the course of 2 days made this really beautiful music video.
And I never know if it's just me or I'm lonely. Is there some way to know? Is there some way to know without leaving my home? Where it is I'm supposed to go. I don't get out that much, but we're looking for you. And I'll try when I'm tired of being.
The next one is a short film called Maze. We filmed it in a cornfield. So did have to fly people to Omaha, so that did add to the money, but the kids were already there, the field was already there, we had very minimal rentals. If all of us lived in Omaha, this movie would have cost pretty much no money. So I just wanted to show that people who even live in the middle of nowhere, use it to your advantage. Make a film that somebody who lives deep in a city could never make.
San Cristobal y Santa Ceton.
What?
It's on my necklaces.
All right, everybody, let's get back in the field. Oh, and I called that idiot pilot so he won't be spraying you with chemicals anymore.
And lastly, I wanted to show you clips from a documentary I made called Nomad. Again, we did have to fly out there, so that definitely added to the money, but if we just lived there, it wouldn't have. We met these spear fishermen and we lived on a sailboat for 10 days making this movie. We didn't rent any equipment, we didn't do anything like that. We just used all the stuff we already owned. But the film came out really beautiful, and it actually was the movie that led to my first feature.
I watched him dive down, and it just looked like as if everything was in slow motion, and everything he was doing was just completely methodical. Spearfishing to me is,
when you hand this world off to your children, you have to ask yourself, is it a better place or a worse place than that which I came into? And to have the opportunity.
All of these examples, except for 2, I made in college without any access to anything special. And 2 of the projects, which were Electric Blanket and Maze, I made shortly after moving to LA and building a film community out here. So these are all examples of things I made with no money, no real special equipment, no real special access to anything. And these are the things that built my portfolio and made my career. No budget filmmaking does not have to be low quality filmmaking. I do want to remind you, your first couple projects probably are not going to be very good, but that is because of the gap theory, which is you having amazing taste, but your skill hasn't reached up to your taste yet. And so there's this gap. And the only way to fill that gap is to keep practicing and making and making and making. So the first step is just to start. M. Night Shyamalan famously said, if you want to be a filmmaker, you pick up a camera and you make a film. Now you are a filmmaker. Anything beyond that is just budget negotiation. I've been getting some comments about people wanting to learn things about actually getting jobs in the film industry. So the next episode, I'm going to talk about how to get your first jobs in the film industry, where to look for these jobs, what type of jobs you should be looking for, what types of skills you should be developing. I'll talk about how to actually break into the working side of the industry. And if you're actually working in the industry doing all these roles and you're making all these projects and you're networking and you're doing all this stuff, both things merge together into making the brilliant career that you want for yourself. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I'm Katya Alexander, and this is Pocket Change Films.